Esso are giving away these fine quality wine glasses. Hey, just a minute. For every £6 of petrol or diesel you buy, you get a voucher. 2 vouchers, and the glass is yours. And yours, and yours, and yours. Oh, sorry, sir. Get your free wine glass where you see this sign.
Today's wash is changing. More colours, more synthetics, lower temperatures. That's why surf has changed too. New Surf Automatic has been updated and reformulated to work harder than ever before, even at today's lower temperatures. So your whites come up even whiter, your colours far brighter, which means New Surf is even better value. It makes more sense to use New Surf.
In days when folk sang praises of bread that were whiter than white, young doctor by name of Tom Allinson brought wholemeal notion to light. Now Tom couldn't find proper flour, with all goodness required to fit bill, so he hearkened to voice of his conscience and purchased his very own mill. And them as once laughed at young upstart sought wisdom a leaving in clout, and Tom's is still healthier doctrine, 'cause bread's better we nowt taken out.
A reliable strength. A long-lasting length. And a perfect softness. All go to make up Andrex.
A mother only puts her trust in safe hands. You trust in Vosene because it gives them family dandruff control with nothing more dramatic than regular shampooing. That healthy-looking shine shows you've kept their hair in safe hands. Trust in Vosene for family dandruff control.
At Findus, a French bread pizza starts with fresh baked bread, topped with tomato and mozzarella, but it can end up with Italian-style sausage, bacon and peppers, and now smoked ham and pineapple. Findus French bread pizzas, the finest food frozen.
In November, a prospectus will be issued for the sale of shares in British Telecom. To reserve your copy, ring 0272 272 272 now.
Gold. Rich, pure, precious. And only one coffee is called Gold Blend, because each bean is precious. Gold Blend. Is there any other coffee that tastes as rich, as pure, as smooth? Try Gold Blend, and surely you'll agree nothing is as good as gold.
Coming Sunday, Return to Eden, a gripping story of the vicious attempted murder of a wealthy young woman by her lecherous tennis star husband, and her secret recovery to a glamorous new identity.
You are full of surprises.
We girls have to keep a few tricks up our sleeves.
The chilling and compulsive tale of a lust for revenge on a husband and his lover. Return to Eden, over 3 consecutive nights, starts this Sunday at 7:45, concluding Tuesday at 9, on Thames.
And there's drama later tonight with the first of 2 episodes this week of The Brief, tonight at 10:30. This is Thames from London. The time now, 10 o'clock.
Mrs. Thatcher's pound is at its lowest. The power workers say perhaps some dockers go back. And up, away and here the balloonist reaches Europe. South Africa's miners talk and divide over a strike. 40 years on, a wreath for the bridge that was too far. Good evening. The pound closed tonight in London at its lowest ever since Mrs. Thatcher took office, and indeed ever since there was a pound and a dollar. The pound closed at $1.2415. That's nearly 2.5 cents down on the day. It's great news for American tourists in Britain who are getting ever cheaper holidays. Good news for British exporters to the United States who now have the cheapest rates they've ever known. And good news for British firms who want to be taken over by the Americans. They'll never be cheaper. It's bad news for British importers, who will find prices higher, and so will customers, and poor news for the government and the Chancellor, who wants to keep import prices down. Since January the 1st, the pound has fallen by 17% against the dollar, but has fallen by only 8.4% against other currencies, especially currencies in Europe. Because the world believes now that President Reagan is going to be re-elected, the dollar is popular in Britain, Germany, France, everywhere. President Reagan's critics say that his combination of economic growth, lower inflation and lower unemployment can't last. But the signs are that it will last, at least until the American election on November the 6th. So the pound and what it buys may go on suffering. Other economic news tonight: petrol prices are going up in reality by twopence or threepence because the pound is down. And there's an incentive to invest in Britain. The Japanese electronics firm NEC is putting £75 million into its plant in Livingston in Scotland, making silicon chips.
Leaders of the 9 main unions in the electricity industry have postponed any decision on industrial action to support the miners. But they have agreed to meet the miners' union and the TUC to discuss how they can help. The conciliation service ACAS has officially stepped into the coal dispute for the first time. But they'll be hearing each side before making any moves to arrange further peace talks. And dockers delegates meet in London tomorrow to discuss a peace plan of the 3-week-old dock strike. 3 ports return to normal today in anticipation of a settlement.
The power unions represent the miners' one hope of exerting swift and irresistible industrial pressure on the government and the coal board. Splits, already apparent when the Trade Union Congress called for blacking of coal and oil, made effective support doubtful. And today's lack of commitment must reinforce miners' doubts that power workers will deliver.
The Electricity Supply Trade Union Council is willing to meet the National Union of Mine Workers under the auspices of the TUC, as provided for in the General Council statement adopted at the Trade Union Congress.
Even the manual unions backing the miners say Mr. Scargill must argue his case.
A lot will now depend on the way in which the NUM present their position and the way in which they feel that we can assist them, that will determine the way forward after the meeting with them.
In power generation, the bulk of the workforce, some 20,000, are in manual jobs. It's here that the miners could hope for most support in the call to black the use of coke or coal or oil substituted for it. The next biggest group are the maintenance workers. More than 10,000 of them, who are mostly members of the Electricians' Union, whose leaders oppose backing the miners, or the moderate engineering union, whose support is decidedly qualified. The relatively small band of key engineers who man the control rooms, fewer than 5,000 of them, belong to the Engineers and Managers Association. They've already decided to take no action to jeopardize electricity supplies. It was these men who kept the power stations running when other workers took industrial action in the early 70s. A note of caution was struck today by Terry Duffy, leader of the Engineering Union, who said his members wouldn't go it alone. It was essential, he said, to make sure members were behind strike action. We have to make sure we can deliver, he said. Mr. Scargill, at least on the face of it, was not disheartened by the power workers' reluctance today to commit themselves.
The workers in the power stations will be meeting today, and the kind of result that's being forthcoming is the kind of result that we anticipated. The very fact that they're now prepared to sit down and talk with the National Union of Mine Workers under the auspices of the TUC, and I would remind you, in line with the decision of the Trade Union Congress, is something which I think is very positive.
Nevertheless, the evident indecision among the power unions, together with the imminent end of the dock strike, is a shot in the arm for the government. The TUC leaders are clearly anxious for peace talks to resume, and it could well be that today's offer by the conciliation service ACAS to get Mr. Scargill and the coal board back together will bear fruit in the next few days.
The Labour-controlled Police Authority of South Yorkshire have ordered their Chief Constable to sell off his 18 police horses to meet some of the £7 million cost of policing the miners' dispute. The chairman of the authority, Mr. George Moores, denied that the order was in retaliation for the mounted charges by the police horses against miners' pickets at the Orgreave coking plant. The Chief Constable of South Yorkshire, Mr. Peter Wright, said the decision could hamper the policing of mass pickets.
2 o'clock in the morning and the police move into the South Yorkshire coalfields. There are around 200 officers in this convoy, many being paid overtime. Throughout the county, similar convoys are also on the move. Policing the picket lines in South Yorkshire has cost £7 million so far. Now local politicians are demanding cutbacks. South Yorkshire's police committee today voted to disband the mounted police, whose use against the pickets at Orgreave was criticised by Labour councillors as well as miners' leaders. The number of police dogs is to be halved. The politicians say getting rid of the horses alone will save them £400,000 a year.
The question that's been put to us is that £400,000 value for money in looking after 18 horses with the minimum number of appearances a year, or do you spend that £400,000 on more communal bobbying? And that's what we want, bobbies on the beat.
Once the County Council have ratified the decision of the police authority, I have got to put all my horses and the equipment that goes with them up for sale. And at the present time, when the mounted branch, in my mind, certainly in recent months, have been necessary to properly police South Yorkshire, I think that is the wrong thing to do.
The last hope of retaining the police horses could now rest with Her Majesty's Inspector of Constabularies, who will be asked if money can be found from other funds to pay for their keep. Paul Davis, News at 10 in South Yorkshire.
The Soviet authorities have invited all foreign correspondents in Moscow to a press conference tomorrow because of what they call provocation against a Soviet citizen. It's thought the authorities may be planning to present the missing Soviet defector Mr. Oleg Bitov to Western journalists. Mr. Bitov, a Soviet journalist, defected to Britain a year ago. He gave interviews then in which he said he was appalled at the censorship in the Soviet Union and shocked by the shooting down of the Korean airliner.
Oleg Bitov's sudden disappearance just over a month ago has completely baffled his friends. On the day he disappeared, he'd had lunch with a colleague and appeared to be in excellent spirits. He had another engagement that evening, but cancelled it at about 4 o'clock, saying something urgent had come up.